The gun pressed against my temple felt cold, but not as cold as the silence that followed. I couldn't see who held it, but I could hear his breathing. Ragged, nervous, amateur. That's when I knew I might survive this. "She's blind, boss," someone muttered from across the room. "What do we do with her?" My heart hammered against my ribs. I'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. A coffee shop during what I now understood was some kind of deal gone wrong. They'd grabbed me, dragged me into a car, and now I stood in what smelled like an old warehouse, concrete and rust filling my nostrils. Footsteps approached, slow, deliberate, expensive shoes on concrete. I'd learned to identify sounds like these. They stopped directly in front of me. "Put the gun down, Marcus." The voice was deep, commanding, with an edge that made even my captor flinch. I heard the weapon lower immediately. Then something unexpected happened. A hand, warm, surprisingly gentle, took mine, fingers interlaced with my own, and I felt him lean close enough that his breath tickled my ear. "Not to me," he whispered, his voice dropping to something almost tender. "To me, you see everything." If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional tales. I wanted to pull away, but something in his touch held me frozen. Not fear exactly, but something more complex, more dangerous. "What's your name?" he asked, still holding my hand. "Emma," I managed, my voice smaller than I intended. "Emma Clark." "Emma." He said it like he was tasting wine, considering each syllable. "I'm Dante, and you're safe now. No one here will hurt you." "Safe?" I laughed bitterly. "You kidnapped me. My men made a mistake." His thumb traced circles on the back of my hand, an absent gesture that sent shivers up my arm. "You witnessed something you shouldn't have. But keeping you here against your will isn't the answer. Then let me go." "I will." He paused. "But first, I need to make sure the rival family doesn't find you. They think you saw their faces. They'll come for you." My stomach dropped. "I didn't see anything. I'm blind." "I know." His voice softened impossibly. "That's why you're in danger. They won't believe you. They'll kill you just to be certain." I felt tears prick my eyes, hot and unwelcome. I'd worked so hard to build an independent life after losing my sight in a car accident 3 years ago. I had my apartment, my job at the radio station doing audio editing, my routine. And now, this stranger was telling me it could all end because of something I didn't even witness. "Why do you care?" I whispered. Dante was quiet for a long moment. His hand still held mine, and I noticed how perfectly our fingers fit together, like puzzle pieces that didn't know they were meant to connect. "Because," he finally said, "I've spent my whole life in darkness too, just a different kind." He released my hand, and I immediately missed the warmth. "Tony," Dante called out, "take Miss Clark to the East Wing, the Blue Room, post guards at her door, for her protection, not her imprisonment. If anyone touches her, they answer to me personally." "Yes, boss." A different hand, rougher, more hesitant, touched my elbow. "This way, miss." As Tony led me away, I heard Dante bark orders at his men, his voice hard and uncompromising once more. But I couldn't shake the memory of those whispered words, the gentle touch, the way he'd made me feel seen for the first time since I'd lost my vision. What kind of man was this Mafia boss, and why did part of me already want to find out? The room they put me in was surprisingly comfortable. My fingers traced over soft bedding, heavy curtains, furniture that felt expensive and well-maintained. Tony had described it briefly. Blue walls, large windows overlooking gardens I'd never see, antique furniture that probably cost more than my annual salary. "There's a bathroom through that door," he'd said gruffly. "Clothes in the closet, though they might not fit perfect. Boss said to make you comfortable. There's a button by the bed if you need anything. Press it, and someone comes." "Got it?" "Got it." I'd sat on the edge of the bed, listening to his footsteps retreat and the door lock behind him. Now, hours later, I lay awake in the darkness that was always my companion, thinking about Dante. His voice kept replaying in my mind, that contrast between the cold commander and the warm whisper. I'd met men who pitied my blindness, men who fetishized it, and men who simply didn't know how to handle it. But I'd never met someone who seemed to understand it as its own kind of power. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. "Miss Clark? It's Sophia. I've brought dinner." I heard the door open, smelled something delicious. Garlic, tomatoes, fresh bread. "I can feed myself," I said quickly, hating the defensive edge in my voice. "I know." Her voice was kind, Middle-aged. Maternal. That's why I'm describing where everything is. Plate at 12 o'clock. Pasta at 9 o'clock. Bread at 3. Water glass at 2. I felt my shoulders relax. Thank you. You're welcome, honey. She set something down with a gentle clink. I raised a son who lost his hearing when he was 12. I know what it's like when people assume you can't do things. What happened to him? Meningitis. But he's thriving now. Runs his own business. Pride colored her words. The point is, disability isn't inability. Tell that to everyone else. Sophia laughed softly. I like you. Eat up. And Emma? The boss isn't what people think he is. What do you mean? But she was already leaving, the door clicking shut behind her. I ate slowly, my mind churning. What was Dante really like? Why had he shown me that unexpected gentleness? And why couldn't I stop thinking about the way his hand had felt in mine? I was just setting my empty plate aside when I heard the door open again. Sophia, Not Sophia. Dante's voice froze me mid-sentence. I heard him walk to the window, the rustle of curtains being drawn. Describing for you, he said quietly. The moon is full tonight. Your gardens are silver in the light. There's a fountain. You can probably hear it from here if you listen. I did listen. Sure enough, a faint trickling sound reached my ears. Why are you here? I asked. To apologize. He moved closer. I could sense his presence. Smell expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely him. My world isn't safe. You got caught in crossfire that had nothing to do with you. I'm sorry. Then let me go home. I will. Tomorrow, I'll have my men check your apartment, make sure it's secure, set up protection. But tonight, I need you here where I know you're safe. I don't understand you. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. You're supposed to be this terrifying mafia boss. People were shaking when they talked to you. But with me, with you, I can be different. He sat down. I felt the bed dip beside me, not touching but close enough that I could feel his warmth. Everyone in my life wants something. Power, money, status, survival. But you don't even know who I am. You can't see my scars, my reputation, the blood on my hands. You just hear my voice and feel my touch. That's all anyone really is, I said softly. The rest is just decoration. His laugh was low, surprised. You're remarkable, Emma Clark. I'm really not. I'm a 28-year-old audio editor who lives alone with a cat named Beethoven and hasn't been on a date in 2 years. Why not? I shrugged, suddenly vulnerable. Men don't know how to handle the blind girl. They either treat me like I'm made of glass or like I'm a charity case. I got tired of it. Their loss. His voice held conviction that made my breath catch. Anyone who can't see past your eyes to the woman behind them is a fool. We sat in silence for a moment, and I felt something shift between us. Something dangerous and electric, and completely inappropriate given that he was a criminal who'd kidnapped me. Tell me about yourself, I said, desperate to break the tension. If you're not just the terrifying boss everyone fears, who are you? Dante was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I'm a man who inherited an empire I never wanted. My father was the monster everyone thinks I am. He ruled through fear and brutality. When he died, I took over because the alternative was watching everything fall into chaos, watching good people who depended on us get hurt in the power vacuum. So you're the reluctant king. Something like that. His hand found mine again in the darkness, and this time I didn't question why I let him hold it. I've tried to change things, reduce the violence, protect people instead of exploiting them. But in this world, kindness is weakness. So I wear the mask, play the monster, and hope that somewhere beneath it all, I'm still human. My heart ached for him. You are. I can hear it in your voice. Can you? His thumb traced patterns on my palm. Or are you just a better person than me, seeing good where there isn't any? I think, I said carefully, that you're scared. Scared that if you show people who you really are, they'll use it against you. Scared that vulnerability equals death in your world. Scared that maybe you've played the monster so long you've become him. His breath hitched. How do you see so much? Because I listen. And right now, I hear a man who's more afraid of himself than anyone else could ever be. Dante stood abruptly, dropping my hand. I heard him walk to the door. Pause there. Get some sleep, Emma. Tomorrow you go home and forget this ever happened. Forget me. But even as the door closed behind him, I knew forgetting was impossible. Dante had already carved himself into my consciousness, a voice in my perpetual darkness that somehow felt like light. I woke to chaos. Shouts echoed through the halls, followed by gunfire that made me dive under the bed instinctively. My heart pounded as I tried to orient myself in the unfamiliar room, my disability suddenly feeling like a death sentence. The door burst open. "Emma!" Dante's voice, urgent and commanding. "We need to move now." Strong arms lifted me, and I clutched at his shoulders as he carried me quickly through corridors that turned and twisted. More gunshots, closer now. I felt him tense, felt the controlled power in his body as he navigated what sounded like a war zone. "What's happening?" I gasped. "The Moretti family. They found out about you." His voice was grim. "They're hitting us hard." We descended stairs. I counted them automatically. 15, 16, 17. Then into what felt like a basement, cool and damp. Dante set me down gently, his hands lingering on my waist to steady me. "Stay here. Tony and Marco are with you. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Understand? Where are you going?" "To end this." His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. "I won't let them hurt you, Emma. I promise." Then he was gone, and I heard Tony and Marco take positions on either side of me, their breathing tense and controlled. Time became meaningless. I strained my ears, trying to make sense of the muffled sounds above us. More gunfire, shouting, something heavy falling. My imagination conjured horrors I couldn't see, and I realized with stunning clarity that I was terrified, not just for myself, but for Dante. This stranger who'd kidnapped me yesterday had somehow become someone I desperately wanted to survive. "He'll be okay," Marco whispered, perhaps sensing my distress. "Boss is the best fighter we have. Smart too. He doesn't take unnecessary risks." "Then why does this feel so risky?" I whispered back. "Because you matter to him." Tony's voice was matter of fact, and that makes him both stronger and more vulnerable. I wanted to protest that I didn't matter, that we'd barely met, but the words died in my throat. Something had happened between us last night, something I couldn't quite name but couldn't deny. The sounds above gradually diminished. Silence fell, heavy and ominous. Then footsteps on the stairs, multiple sets, moving quickly. Both Tony and Marco raised their weapons. I heard the metallic click of safeties being released. "It's me," Dante's voice strained with exhaustion. "Stand down." Relief flooded through me so intensely that my knees weakened. I heard him approach, felt his presence like a physical thing. "Are you hurt?" His hands were on me immediately, checking for injuries with surprising gentleness. "I'm fine. Are you?" "Few scratches. Nothing serious." But I heard the lie in his voice, heard the pain underneath the bravado. "We need to move you. This location is compromised." "Boss, you need medical attention," Marco protested. "After Emma is secure." Dante's tone left no room for argument. "Bring the car around. We're taking her to the mountain house." 20 minutes later, I was in a car next to Dante, racing through what he described as early morning streets still quiet with dawn. His hand held mine, and I could feel the warm stickiness of blood. "You're bleeding," I said, alarmed. "It's not mine. Mostly." He tried to sound cavalier, but I heard the weakness creeping in. "Stop lying to me." I turned toward him, using my free hand to find his face. My fingers encountered wetness on his temple, a cut on his lip. "You're hurt, and you're pretending you're not because you think you have to be strong for everyone." "Emma, no." My voice was fiercer than I'd ever heard it. "You promised to protect me. Well, I need you alive to do that. So stop being an idiot and let someone help you." Silence. Then, incredibly, he laughed. A real laugh, not the dark chuckle I'd heard before. "You're bossy for someone who's been kidnapped. You're reckless for someone who's supposed to be this brilliant strategist." "Tony," Dante called to the driver, "take us to Dr. Chen's first. Apparently, I'm being overruled by a woman half my size." "Smart woman," Tony muttered, and I heard the approval in his voice. At the doctor's office, a private clinic that asked no questions, I sat in the waiting room while Dante got stitched up. Sophia appeared with coffee and a warm breakfast sandwich. "He likes you," she said without preamble. "He barely knows me. Sometimes that's all it takes." She pressed the coffee cup into my hands. "Dante hasn't let himself care about anyone since his sister died. Too dangerous, he always said. Too much liability. But one night with you, and he's taking bullets to keep you safe." "His sister?" I asked quietly. "Isabella. She was blind too. Born that way. Dante adored her. protected her fiercely. But 5 years ago, a rival family used her to get to him. She died in the crossfire. Sophia's voice caught. He blamed himself, swore he'd never let anyone close again. My heart cracked open. Suddenly, Dante's reaction to me made sense. The immediate protectiveness, the understanding, the way he'd known exactly how to talk to me without pity or condescension. "She's blind, boss," those men had said, and Dante had seen not a liability, but his lost sister, a chance at redemption. But as I sat there processing this revelation, I realized something else. Whatever had started as Dante protecting a ghost had transformed into something real. The way he touched me, spoke to me, opened up to me, that wasn't about Isabella. That was about Emma. And somehow, impossibly, I was falling for a man whose world was violence and whose touch felt like home. The mountain house was exactly as I'd imagined a Mafia safe house would be. Remote, secure, and surprisingly beautiful based on Dante's descriptions. He'd taken to narrating our surroundings, painting pictures with words that my hands would never touch. "Floor-to-ceiling windows facing east," he said, as we stood in what he called the Great Room. "Mountain range in the distance, peaks still white with last winter's snow. There's a lake about half a mile down, water so clear you can see straight to the bottom. You sound like a poet, not a crime boss. My mother was a literature professor before she married my father." His voice carried sadness. "She used to read to me for hours. Dante's Inferno, obviously, given my name. Shakespeare, Yeats. She said beauty was the only thing that could survive in hell. Was she right? I'm starting to think so." We'd fallen into an easy companionship over the past 3 days. Dante had installed me in a bedroom suite on the first floor, so you can navigate more easily, and had shown me around with meticulous care, describing distances, warning about steps, ensuring I could move independently. It was that consideration, more than anything else, that was undoing me. "Tell me about your life before," Dante said now, settling into what sounded like a leather chair. "Before the accident." I curled up on the sofa, pulling a soft blanket around myself. I was studying architecture, had this grand plan to design buildings that weren't just beautiful, but meaningful. Spaces that made people feel things. That's still possible, isn't it? Maybe. I traced patterns on the blanket, but it's not the same. I can't see lines and angles anymore. Can't visualize the way light hits a surface. Architecture is such a visual field. But it's also about space and movement, sound and texture, experience. Dante's voice held conviction. You could design buildings that work for everyone, not just the sighted. Buildings that are beautiful in ways most architects never consider. I'd never thought of it that way. In the 3 years since the accident, I'd mourned what I'd lost, instead of exploring what I'd gained. "How did it happen?" he asked softly. "If you want to tell me." I took a breath. "Drunk driver. Hit us head on. My boyfriend was driving. He walked away with a few bruises. I got a traumatic brain injury that damaged my optic nerves. The doctors said I was lucky to survive, but it didn't feel lucky." "No." Tears pricked my eyes. "And the worst part? My boyfriend couldn't handle it. Stuck around for 3 months, kept saying he'd adjust, but I could hear the pity in his voice, the relief when he finally left. He was a coward." Dante's voice was hard. "You deserved better. I thought I was going to spend my life alone. Who wants the blind girl with all her complications?" The chair creaked as Dante stood. I heard him approach, felt him sit beside me on the sofa. His hand found mine, fingers interlacing. "Emma, look at me." I laughed bitterly. "That's a cruel joke." "No, I mean it." His other hand touched my face, gently turning me toward him. "You're looking at me right now, even if your eyes can't see. You're seeing who I really am in ways no one else ever has. And what you're describing, being alone, being too complicated, being unworthy of love, that's exactly how I've felt my entire adult life. That's different. You chose this world." "Did I?" His thumb brushed away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. "I was born into it. My father groomed me from childhood to take over. The first time I killed someone, I was 17. He made me do it. Said it was a test of loyalty. I vomited for hours afterward." My breath caught. "Dante, I'm not looking for pity. I'm trying to explain that we're not so different, you and me. We both lost the lives we thought we'd have. We both feel like we're navigating a world that wasn't built for us. We both think we're too damaged for anyone to want. Are we?" I whispered. "I don't know." His forehead rested against mine, an intimacy that felt more profound than any kiss. But for the first time in years, I want to find out. With you. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you bite your lip when you're thinking hard. I know you organize your space by sound. The coffee maker to the left because the gurgle is distinctive, the microwave to the right because of the beep. I know you hate pity, but you're terrified of burdening people. I know you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. And I know that when you smile, really smile, it feels like the sun coming out. How do you know all that? Because I've been watching you, listening to you, learning you. His voice dropped to a whisper, falling for you. My heart stopped, started again, faster. You can't. I'm leaving soon, going back to my normal life. This is temporary. Is it? His hand cupped my face, because it doesn't feel temporary. It feels like my whole life has been leading to this moment, to you. Dante, I'm scared. So am I. He laughed softly, terrified actually, but I'd rather be scared with you than alone without you. I turned my face into his palm, pressing a kiss there. What if this doesn't work? What if your world is too dangerous, or I'm too complicated, or... Then we figure it out together. His thumb traced my lips. Emma, I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you a normal life. But I can promise that I will never pity you, never see you as a burden, and never stop fighting to keep you in my life. If you'll let me. This is insane. Completely. He was smiling. I could hear it. But the best things usually are. I should have said no. Should have protected my heart, maintained distance, recognized this for the Stockholm Syndrome it probably was. But Dante had seen me, really seen me, in ways no one else ever had. And maybe, just maybe, I'd seen the real him too. Okay, I whispered. Let's be insane together. His lips met mine, gentle and questioning, and I felt something inside me unlock. This kiss wasn't about passion or desperation. It was about recognition. Two broken people finding wholeness in each other's brokenness. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and amazed, Dante described what I couldn't see. You're glowing. Your cheeks are flushed. Your lips are red from kissing me. And you look absolutely beautiful. Tell me what you look like, I said, tracing his face with my fingers. Dangerous, he said with a laugh. Dark hair, dark eyes, couple of scars that make me look more menacing than I am. Strong jaw, my mother's nose, my father's scowl. You're not scowling now. No. Now I'm smiling like an idiot because the most incredible woman I've ever met just agreed to give me a chance. We spent the rest of the evening on that sofa, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about his childhood, the weight of expectations, the loneliness of power. I told him about my dreams, my fears, the strange freedom that came with losing sight. And somewhere between midnight and dawn, I realized I'd found something I'd stopped believing in. Someone who loved me not despite my blindness, but as part of the whole complicated package that was Emma Clark. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight, in Dante's arms, I was exactly where I needed to be. Absolutely not. Dante's voice was steel. She's not bait. I stood in the doorway of his office, listening to the heated argument between Dante and his consigliere, a man named Vincent, who I'd quickly learned to dislike. Boss, it's the perfect plan. The Morettis want her. We give her to them, with protection, of course, and take them down when they make their move. I said no. Dante's fist hit the desk hard enough that I jumped. Find another way. There is no other way. They've gone underground since the attack. This is our only shot at ending this without a full-scale war. Then we have a war. Dante's voice dropped to something lethal. But we don't use innocent people as bait. Especially not her. With all due respect, boss, she's making you weak. Your father would never... My father was a sadistic bastard who died alone and hated. If that's your idea of strength, Vincent, you're working for the wrong man. Silence fell, heavy with tension. I heard Vincent leave, his footsteps angry and sharp. Then Dante was beside me, his hand finding my elbow. You heard all that. Hard not to. I let him guide me into the office, settling into the chair opposite his desk. Is he right? Am I making you weak? No. You're making me human. There's a difference. He poured what sounded like whiskey, the liquid glugging into crystal. Vincent's old school. He thinks ruthlessness is the only currency that matters. And you don't? I think ruthlessness without compassion makes monsters. I've spent 5 years trying to prove that. He sighed heavily. But times like this, when my past keeps catching up, I wonder if I'm just fooling myself. What would your sister say? Dante was quiet for so long I thought I'd overstepped. Then, Isabella would tell me that being good is harder than being bad, but that's exactly why it matters. She was the most optimistic person I've ever known, despite everything. Tell me about her. He settled into his chair, and I heard him take a long drink. Bells was 7 years younger than me, born blind, but you'd never know it from the way she moved through the world. Fearless, joyful. She loved music, played piano better than anyone I've ever heard, made up stories about the sounds around her, created whole worlds from echoes. His voice broke slightly. She was supposed to be safe. I'd moved her to a protected location, kept her identity secret. But someone talked. The Russians found her, used her to lure me into a trap. I was supposed to trade myself for her, but you didn't. I tried. God, I tried. Pain saturated every word, but it was a setup. They never intended to let her go. By the time my men breached the warehouse, she was already gone. Caught in the crossfire, they said. Quick and painless, they said, as if that made it better. I stood, navigating carefully to his chair. My hands found his shoulders, and I felt the tension coiled there like living wire. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? I brought her into this world. Everything I touched turned dark, including her. No. I moved around to face him, my hands finding his face. Your father brought her into this world. You tried to protect her. You loved her. That's not darkness. That's light trying to survive in the dark. His hands covered mine. Sometimes I think Isabella sent you to me. A reminder that blind doesn't mean helpless. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That maybe I can have something good without destroying it. I'm not Isabella. I know. His lips pressed against my palm. You're Emma, and you're making me believe I can be someone other than my father's son. You already are. I stroked his hair, felt him lean into my touch. You could have used me as bait, could have seen me as expendable, but you didn't. That's not who you are. Vincent thinks I'm being foolish. Vincent thinks power is the same as control. He's wrong. I smiled slightly. Besides, I have an idea. Emma, hear me out. Vincent's right that the Morettis want me, and he's right that we need to draw them out. But instead of me being the bait, what if I'm the trap? Dante stiffened. Explain. I'm blind. People underestimate me constantly. The Morettis will see me as an easy target, someone passive and helpless. But I'm not. I have skills they won't expect. What skills? I have perfect acoustic memory. I can identify people by footsteps, breathing patterns, speech patterns. Give me 5 minutes in a room with someone, and I'll remember them forever. I leaned forward. If we set up a meeting, somewhere you control, somewhere you can monitor, I can identify their members, their hierarchy, their weaknesses, not as bait, but as intelligence. That's still dangerous. Living is dangerous. But this way, I'm not helpless. I'm strategic. I'm useful. And I'm making my own choice instead of being a pawn in someone else's game. Dante pulled me into his lap, arms wrapping around me protectively. You're brilliant and terrifying, you know that? I've been called worse. I rested my head against his shoulder. So, what do you think? I think, he said slowly, that you're right. But we do this my way. Heavy security. Controlled environment. At the first sign of danger, you're out. Agreed. And Emma? After this is over, we're having a serious conversation about you not putting yourself in danger for my sake. After this is over, I countered, we're having a serious conversation about you not thinking you have to protect everyone alone. He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. Deal. We sat there for a while, holding each other, preparing for the battle ahead. I knew this wasn't normal. Falling for a Mafia boss, volunteering for dangerous operations, building a relationship on such unstable ground. But nothing about my life had been normal since the accident. Maybe it was time to stop fighting that and start embracing it. Dante, I said softly. Thank you for seeing me as more than my disability, for letting me be strong. His arms tightened around me. Thank you for seeing me as more than my reputation, for letting me be weak. And in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, we were both exactly what we needed to be, human. The restaurant was one of Dante's legitimate businesses, an upscale Italian place in downtown that served as neutral ground for negotiations. I sat at a corner table, wearing a wire so thin I couldn't even feel it, surrounded by bodyguards pretending to be regular diners. "They're here," Dante murmured through my earpiece. 3 men, mid-40s to early 50s. The one in front walks with a slight limp. That's Carlo Moretti, the underboss. "Be careful, Emma." "Always am," I whispered, taking a sip of water. I heard them approach. 3 distinct gaits. The limping one, as Dante had said, another with heavy footfalls, probably overweight. The third moved quietly, professionally, likely their enforcer. "Miss Clark." Carlo's voice was smooth, educated, with underlying menace. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. Did I have a choice?" A dark chuckle. "Clever girl. We could have taken you any time, it's true. But where's the sport in that?" Chairs scraped as they sat. "Besides, we're here to offer you a deal." "I'm listening." "Dante Russo has made you his weakness. That's useful to us. But we're not unreasonable men. Tell us what we want to know about his operations, and we let you walk away. Clean break. New identity. Fresh start somewhere far from here. And if I refuse, then we use you anyway. Just less pleasantly." The enforcer's voice, flat and cold. I felt my pulse race but kept my face calm. "What do you want to know?" "His safe houses, his financial networks, his vulnerabilities." Carlo leaned closer. I could smell expensive cologne and cigars. "You've been living with him. You must know something useful. I know he cares about people more than he admits." I chose my words carefully. "I know he's trying to move away from the old ways. I know he has guards stationed at 3 properties I've been to, including a mountain house with electronic security that beeps every 45 seconds. All true, but carefully phrased. We'd discussed what information was safe to share, things they could learn anyway, nothing that would actually help them. That's a start." Carlo sounded pleased. "What else?" "I know," I continued, "that you killed his sister 5 years ago, Isabella, and that he's never forgiven you." The temperature at the table dropped 10 degrees. "Careful, girl. I'm blind, not stupid." I leaned forward. "You want to know his vulnerability? It's not me. It's guilt. He couldn't save Isabella, so he thinks he has to save everyone else. That's why he's protective of me. That's why he's trying to change the family business. He's haunted. Haunted men make mistakes. Yes, but they also fight harder than anyone else." I smiled slightly. "You think I'm his weakness? I'm not. I'm his reminder, his motivation, his reason to be better than you." Silence fell. Then Carlo spoke, voice hard. "Marco, take her." But I'd been counting. The enforcer, Marco, was on my right, 3 feet away. The heavy one was across from me. Carlo was to my left. And Dante's men had been closing in during our conversation, positioned exactly where I'd heard them moving. "Now," I said clearly. Chaos erupted. Tables crashed. Shouts echoed. I felt someone grab my arm. Dante. I knew his touch instantly, and pull me behind the bar. "Stay down," he commanded, and I heard the cold fury in his voice. "This ends today." Gunshots rang out, making me flinch. But they were controlled, precise. Not the wild spray of panic, but the calculated strikes of professionals who'd been preparing for this moment. It was over in less than 3 minutes. Silence fell, broken only by harsh breathing and the scuffle of zip ties being secured. "Emma." Dante was beside me again, hands gentle as they checked me for injuries. "You okay?" "I'm fine." "Did it work?" "Perfectly." His voice held grim satisfaction. "We got all 3 of them, plus the 2 backup teams they had stationed outside. The Moretti family is done." He helped me stand, guiding me carefully around the destruction. I heard Carlo groaning, heard Marco cursing. "You used the blind girl," Carlo spat. "That's low, even for you, Russo." "No." Dante's voice was ice. "Emma chose to help. She's not a pawn. She's a partner. Something you never understood. You saw weakness where I saw strength. That's why you lost. This isn't over." "It is." Dante moved closer to them. I could feel the menace radiating off him. "Your organization is finished. Your assets are frozen. Your allies have abandoned you. And your crimes, including Isabella's murder, are being handed to the FBI as we speak. You're cooperating with the feds?" Carlo sounded shocked. "I'm cooperating with justice. There's a difference." Dante's hand found mine, squeezed. "I've spent 5 years cleaning up my father's mess, trying to build something better. You and your family represented everything I was trying to move away from. Now you're gone, and the city's safer for it. You've gone soft. No, I've gotten smart. Dante pulled me closer, and I've learned that there's more strength in protecting people than in terrorizing them. My sister taught me that. Emma reminded me. And now you get to spend the rest of your life thinking about it in federal prison. As the police sirens approached, Dante had clearly arranged this with someone in law enforcement. I felt a strange sense of closure. This hadn't been about revenge. It had been about justice, about breaking cycles, about proving that strength didn't have to mean cruelty. Come on, Dante murmured, leading me toward the back exit. Let's go home. And as we walked away from the chaos, his hand secure in mine, I realized something profound. Home wasn't a place anymore. It was this, us, together, building something better from the rubble of broken pasts. The aftermath took weeks to settle. Dante spent long days with lawyers, federal agents, and business associates, restructuring his operations into legitimate enterprises. I heard the exhaustion in his voice each evening, felt the tension in his shoulders when he finally came to bed. But slowly, piece by piece, he was transforming the Russo family from a criminal empire into something that could stand in the light. The restaurant is officially clean, he said one evening, settling beside me on the terrace. We were back at the Mountain House, my favorite place. No more money laundering. No more protection money. Just good food and honest profit. How do your people feel about that? Some are adapting. Others are leaving. He sighed. Vincent quit last week. Said I was betraying my father's legacy. Good riddance. Dante laughed. You really didn't like him. He saw people as tools. I don't trust people like that. I turned toward him. How do you feel about him leaving? Relieved, honestly. He was a tie to the old ways, constantly pushing me to be more ruthless. Now I can finally build the organization I want. His hand found mine. I'm dissolving the weapons trafficking completely. The gambling is going legitimate. Applying for proper licenses. The protection rackets are ending. By this time next year, we'll just be a normal business. A normal business run by a reformed Mafia boss. Stranger things have happened. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Emma, there's something I need to tell you. The seriousness in his voice made my stomach clench. What is it? The feds offered me full immunity in exchange for my testimony against the Morettis and several other families. But there's a catch. He paused. They want me to stay out of anything that could be perceived as organized crime. If I slip back even once, I go to prison. That's a good thing, isn't it? It means I can't protect you the way I used to. No more guards. No more safe houses. No more operating outside the law. His voice held uncertainty I'd rarely heard. I understand if that changes things. If you don't want to be with the reformed version of me. I pulled my hand free and reached for his face, holding it between my palms. Dante, you idiot. I don't want the Mafia boss, I never did. I want the man who describes sunsets to me, who makes me laugh, who believes I'm strong even when I'm scared. That man doesn't need guns and threats to protect me. Are you sure? I'm sure. I leaned forward, pressing my forehead to his. Besides, I've been thinking about my own future. Oh, I want to go back to school, finish my architecture degree. The words came fast, excited. You were right. I can design spaces that work for everyone, buildings that are beautiful in ways beyond sight. I've already contacted the university about accommodations. Emma, that's amazing. His pride was evident. When do you start? Fall semester, which means I need to find an apartment near campus. I took a breath. Unless you want a blind architecture student cluttering up your legitimate business life. I tried to sound casual but knew I was failing. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a couple months. But Dante, I can't imagine being anywhere else. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close. Move in with me. Not to the mountain house or any safe house. To my actual home. The one I bought last year and never used because it felt too big for one person. You have a real home? 4-bedroom townhouse in the historic district. Lots of natural light, apparently. Hardwood floors. Garden in back. Walking distance to the university. He kissed my hair. It's been waiting for someone to make it feel like home. I think that someone is you. I felt tears prick my eyes. I love you. I know I haven't said it yet, but I do. I love you, Dante Russo. I love you too, Emma Clark. His voice was soft, wondering. You saved me. Not from the Morettis or the feds or my father's legacy, You saved me from myself. We saved each other, I corrected. That's what people do when they love each other. We sat there as the sun set, or so Dante told me, describing the way the light turned the mountains pink and gold. And I thought about how far we'd both come, from that first night when I'd been terrified and he'd been the mysterious captor, to this moment where we were simply two people building a life together. There's one more thing, Dante said eventually. The prosecutor asked me to speak at a victims' rights conference next month. About Isabella, about crime victims, about the cycle of violence. Are you going to do it? I want to, but it means going public with her story, with my story. The media will be everywhere. He hesitated. I don't want to expose you to that scrutiny unless you're comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it. I smiled. Besides, someone needs to keep you honest. Make sure you don't sugarcoat the parts where you were actually a criminal. You're going to keep me humble, aren't you? Someone has to. I kissed him softly, but seriously. I'm proud of you. What you're doing takes more courage than anything you did before. It's terrifying, he admitted. Building something instead of destroying it. Opening up instead of closing down. Trusting that doing the right thing will somehow work out. It will, because you're not alone anymore. I settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. We're going to figure this out together. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Together, he repeated softly, like a promise. And as the evening turned to night, as Dante continued to paint pictures with words, and I continued to see him in ways that had nothing to do with sight, I knew we'd found something rare, something worth fighting for. Two broken people, making each other whole. A blind woman who'd learned to see the world in new ways. A criminal who'd learned that power wasn't the same as strength. Together, building a future that neither of us could have imagined alone. It wasn't a fairy tale. There would be challenges ahead. My disability, his past, the constant work of building a legitimate life from the ashes of an illegitimate one. But we'd face it together, one day at a time, one moment at a time. And that was enough. 6 months later, I stood in the lecture hall at the university, my cane in one hand and Dante's hand in the other. It was orientation day for the architecture program, and I was terrified. You'll be amazing, Dante whispered, squeezing my hand. I can't even see the room. Then describe it differently. His voice held that gentle encouragement I'd come to depend on. Tell me what you hear. I listened. 47 people. The ventilation system creates a low hum at approximately 250 hertz. There's an echo pattern suggesting high ceilings, probably 15 feet. Someone's eating chips in the back row. The professor has a slight wheeze, probably allergies. See? You know this room better than anyone else here. He kissed my temple. I'm going to find a seat. You're going to ace this orientation. And tonight we're celebrating. I felt him leave, heard his footsteps fade into the general noise of the room. Then a voice beside me. Is this seat taken? No, go ahead. I settled into my chair, organizing my equipment by touch. Laptop with screen reader, digital recorder, specialized note-taking device. That's impressive tech. The voice belonged to a young woman, friendly and curious. I'm Sarah. Emma. And thanks. Took me forever to figure out what worked. I smiled. Are you in the architecture program too? Yeah, first year. You? Continuing student. I was here 3 years ago. Then I had an accident. I gestured to my face. Came back to finish what I started. That's incredibly brave. Or incredibly stubborn. I laughed. Jury's still out. The professor called the class to order, and I activated my recorder. What followed was 3 hours of information about the program. Expectations. Required courses. I took notes via my specialized keyboard, which converted text to braille I could read back later. It was exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. You did great, Sarah said afterward. Want to grab coffee? I'm trying to form a study group. I'd love that. We exchanged numbers, making plans for later in the week. As I gathered my things, I felt someone approach. Not Dante. Someone else. Miss Clark? An older male voice. I'm Professor Williams. I'll be teaching your structural design course. Nice to meet you. I extended my hand. Found his. I wanted to introduce myself early. I've had blind students before, but never in architecture. I'll need your input on what accommodations will help you succeed. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. That means a lot. I read your application essay. Your ideas about multisensory design are fascinating. His enthusiasm was genuine. "I think you're going to bring perspectives to this program that we desperately need." We talked for a few more minutes about tactile models, audio descriptions, and adaptive software. By the time Dante returned, I was practically glowing. "Good day?" he asked, tucking my hand into his elbow. "Incredible day." I leaned into him as we walked. I met people who don't see my blindness as a limitation. They see it as a different way of experiencing the world, because that's exactly what it is. His pride was evident. "I'm so proud of you, Emma. I'm proud of us." We reached the car, and I heard him open my door. "How was your day?" "Productive. Closed the deal on the restaurant franchise. We're opening 3 new locations next year, all completely legitimate." He settled into the driver's seat. "Also had a call from the prosecutor. The Moretti case goes to trial next month." "Are you nervous?" "About testifying?" He started the engine. "No. I'm ready to close that chapter completely. Move forward instead of looking back." We drove in comfortable silence for a while, the radio playing softly. I thought about how much our lives had changed. Dante's businesses were thriving under legitimate management. I was back in school, pursuing my dreams. We'd settled into a comfortable routine in the townhouse. Me studying, him working. Both of us cooking dinners together and narrating our days. It wasn't perfect. We still argued about his overprotective tendencies. I still got frustrated when my disability made things harder than they should be. But we worked through it. Together, learning each other's rhythms and needs. "Where are we going?" I asked as Dante took an unfamiliar turn. "This isn't the way home." "I know. I have a surprise for you." His voice held barely contained excitement. "Close your eyes." I laughed. "Really? Okay. That was dumb." He laughed too. "Just trust me." 10 minutes later we stopped. I heard him come around, open my door, and take my hand. 14 steps forward, he guided. "Now right. There's a door. I'm opening it. Inside now." Cool air hit my face, carrying scents of fresh paint and wood. "Where are we?" "This," Dante said, "is my surprise. Our surprise, actually. I bought it last month." He led me through the space, describing as we went. Open floor plan, about 3,000 square feet. Exposed brick on one wall. Huge windows facing south. Loft upstairs for an office or studio. "Dante, what is this place?" "It's a blank canvas." His hand settled on my shoulders. "I've been thinking about what you said, about designing buildings that work for everyone. So I bought this building. It was a warehouse, completely empty, and I want you to design our dream home." My breath caught. "You want me to design it?" "Not just any design. A true universal design. Something beautiful and functional for both of us, with all the accessibility features you need, integrated so seamlessly that they're just part of the space itself." His excitement was infectious. "You can experiment, try new ideas, create something that shows everyone what you've been telling me, that disability isn't a limitation. It's a lens." Tears streamed down my face. "I can't believe you did this. It's selfish, really." His thumbs brushed away my tears. "I get a house designed by the woman I love, and the world gets to see what she's capable of." I threw my arms around him, holding tight. "You're amazing, you know that? I'm just a guy in love with an amazing woman." He held me close. "So what do you say? Want to design our home?" "Yes." I pulled back, already thinking, already planning. "I want floating stairs with cable railings that won't echo confusingly, textured flooring that indicates room transitions, varied acoustics in different spaces, lighting that's controllable and predictable, kitchen with organized zones and clear sonic landmarks. I love when you talk architecture." His voice was warm with affection. "Draw up your plans. Dream big. Budget is whatever you need." We spent the next hour exploring the space together, Dante describing the structural elements, me touching walls and testing acoustics, both of us imagining the future we'd build here, literally and figuratively. "This is going to be featured in every design magazine," Dante said confidently. "The Mafia boss's blind girlfriend designs revolutionary universal home." "Former Mafia boss," I corrected. "And I'm not your girlfriend anymore." He stiffened. "Emma, I'm your partner. In business, in life, in everything." I found his face, kissed him softly. "And this house? It's proof that 2 broken people can build something whole together." "Not broken," he corrected gently. "Remade, into something stronger than we were before." And standing there in that empty warehouse, surrounded by possibility, I knew he was right. We weren't broken. We were architects of our own lives, designing a future that worked for us, together. The trial dominated the news for weeks. Dante testified for 3 days straight, his voice steady as he detailed years of criminal activity, his father's brutality, and ultimately the Moretti's role in Isabella's death. I listened to some of it on the radio, heard the prosecution paint him as a man seeking redemption, heard the defense try to discredit him as a criminal himself, but what mattered was the jury believed him. The Morettis were convicted on all counts: racketeering, murder, conspiracy. Carlo Moretti got life without parole. Marco got 30 years. The empire they'd built crumbled overnight. "It's finally over," Dante said the night the verdict came in. We were in our townhouse, curled up on the couch with takeout that neither of us was really eating. 5 years of carrying that guilt, and now there's justice. "How do you feel?" "Empty. Relieved. Sad." He set his food aside. "Isabella should be here to see this. She should see that justice is possible, that change is possible, that our father's legacy doesn't have to be our future." I took his hand. "She knows. Wherever she is, she knows. And she's proud of you." "I hope so." His voice cracked slightly. "I've spent so long trying to make things right, trying to honor her memory. Now I'm not sure what comes next. Now we live." I shifted to face him fully. "We build our house. We grow your business. I finish school. We figure out what normal looks like for us." "Normal." He laughed softly. "I'm not sure I know how to do normal." "Neither do I, but we'll figure it out together." I paused, gathering courage for what I'd been planning to say. "Dante, I've been thinking about the future, about us." "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous, just important." I took a breath. "I'm going to finish my degree in 2 years. After that, I want to start my own architectural firm, specializing in universal design, accessibility consulting, creating spaces that work for everyone." "That's amazing, Emma. I'll support you however I can." "I know, but here's the thing. I'll need a business partner, someone who understands the vision, who can handle the business side while I handle the design side." I squeezed his hand. "I want it to be you." Silence stretched between us. Then, "Me? You've successfully transitioned your father's empire into legitimate businesses. You understand finance, operations, personnel management, and you believe in what I want to do, truly believe in it, not just because you love me." I leaned forward. "We'd be equal partners, split everything 50-50, build something completely new together." "Emma, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll take this leap with me. Say we'll be partners in every sense of the word." "Yes." His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close. "God, yes. I can't think of anything I'd rather do than build this with you." We held each other for a long moment, letting the weight of that commitment settle. This wasn't just about business. It was about trust, about believing in each other's abilities, about creating something neither of us could do alone. "There's something else," Dante said eventually, his voice nervous in a way I'd never heard before. "Since we're talking about partnerships and futures." He shifted, and I heard him move off the couch. A rustle of fabric, the sound of something being opened. "Emma Clark, I know we've only been together 9 months. I know we've been through hell and back. I know this probably seems fast." He took my hand, and I felt something cool and metal pressed into my palm. "But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building houses, building businesses, building a life that makes sense to us, even if it looks crazy to everyone else." My fingers explored the object, a ring, with what felt like a textured band and a smooth stone. "The band is engraved with Braille," he explained softly. "It says, 'You see everything,' and the stone is a sapphire, Isabella's birthstone, because she brought us together, in a way." He paused. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face. "You're asking me to be your business partner and your wife in the same night? I'm an overachiever." His voice held nervous laughter. "Is that a yes?" "It's a yes to everything." I found his face, pulled him to me for a kiss that tasted like salt and joy and promise. Yes to the business. Yes to marriage. Yes to building something beautiful together. Yes to all of it. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Dante was nothing if not thorough. "I love you," he whispered against my lips. "My partner, my fiancé, my Emma." I love you too. I laughed through my tears. My former criminal. My reformed mafia boss. My Dante. We spent the rest of the night planning. Not just the wedding. That could wait. But the business. The name. We settled on Clark Russo Design. The mission statement. The types of projects we'd pursue. Dante had contacts in real estate and construction. I had the vision and the technical skills. Together, we could actually make this work. First project is our warehouse conversion, Dante said, sketching notes I couldn't see but that he'd transcribe for me later. We document the entire process, use it as our portfolio piece, show what universal design really looks like. Then we start small, residential renovations, accessibility consulting for existing businesses. I was already mentally organizing. Build a reputation before we take on bigger projects. And you've really thought this through. I've been thinking about it since you bought that warehouse. I smiled. I just needed to work up the courage to ask you. Emma, you could ask me anything. His hand found mine, thumb brushing over the engagement ring. I'm yours. Completely. We talked until dawn, building dreams into plans, into actionable steps. And somewhere in those hours, I realized something profound. This was what happiness felt like. Not the absence of problems, but having someone to face them with. Not a perfect life, but a real one, built on trust and love and mutual respect. 1 year later, I stood in our completed warehouse home with Sarah and a dozen other architecture students, giving a tour of the space we'd created. The flooring changes texture at every threshold, I explained, running my cane along the boundary between the living room and kitchen. Hardwood to tile, with a slightly raised transition strip that's detectable, but not a tripping hazard. Each room has a distinct acoustic signature. The kitchen has harder surfaces that reflect sound. The bedroom has softer ones that absorb it. But it doesn't look like an accessible home, Sarah said with wonder. It just looks beautiful. That's the point. I smiled. Universal design isn't about making spaces look medical or institutional. It's about creating beauty that everyone can experience. Dante appeared at my elbow, slipping his hand into mine. The tour group for the business investors just left. They're very interested in partnering with us on that mixed-use development downtown. Really? Excitement bubbled up. That's huge. You're huge. He kissed my temple. Clark Russo Design is officially on the map. We've got 3 more residential projects lined up, 2 commercial consultations, and the architecture school wants you to guest lecture next semester. After the students left, Dante and I stood in the great room of our home, taking in what we'd built. Floor-to-ceiling windows let in afternoon light. The open floor plan flowed naturally from space to space. Everything was both beautiful and functional, designed for how we actually lived rather than how homes were supposed to look. Remember when I was terrified of you? I said softly. When I thought you were just this dangerous criminal who'd ruined my life. I remember thinking you were the most extraordinary person I'd ever met. Dante wrapped his arms around me from behind, and being terrified that I'd destroy you, like I'd destroyed everything else. We were both wrong. I leaned back against him. You didn't ruin my life. You gave me a new one, and I didn't get destroyed. I helped you rebuild. We saved each other. We did. I turned in his arms, reaching up to touch his face. And now we're helping other people see that disability isn't something to overcome. It's just a different way of experiencing the world. That criminals can change. That broken people can heal. That love isn't about perfection. It's about partnership. When did you get so wise? When I fell in love with a mafia boss who taught me that seeing isn't just about eyes. I smiled. Who taught me that the most important things in life are invisible to sight. They have to be felt with the heart. Dante kissed me then, soft and deep and full of promise. Around us, our home, our creation, our testament to what's possible when 2 people refuse to accept limitations, stood as proof that beauty comes in many forms. I love you, Emma Russo, he whispered against my lips. I love you too, Dante Russo. I pulled back slightly. Now tell me what you see. Describe the sunset. And as he painted pictures with words, as I built worlds from sound and touch, we stood together in the life we'd created, a life that made sense to us, even if it looked crazy to everyone else. The mafia boss had found redemption. The blind woman had found vision. And together, we'd found home. Not in a place, but in each other. Thank you so much for following Emma and Dante's journey. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like and subscribe for more emotional tales. I'd love to hear which moment resonated most with you. Drop a comment below sharing your favorite scene. Your support means everything.